Welcome to Picks with the Professor, the podcast where a real statistics professor gives you sports betting tips. I'm Professor Sides. You can follow me on Twitter at Professor Sides. Today is Friday, April 8th, 2022, and this episode covers every Major League Baseball game today. In case you're new here, I built a mathematical model that predicts the probability that each team wins, and I analyze weather data to come up with some picks on totals. And as I go through the plays today, remember there are no locks in gambling, so what I'll give you are loves, likes, and leans. With that in mind, please understand that good and bad variance will occur. So as much as I'd like to say we'll be profitable each and every day, that is an impossible reality for any gambler. Yesterday we were profitable. It was a great opening day. Got the A play, 4-3 overall, up almost 4 units for a near 30% ROI. So a fantastic day yesterday. Obviously, we hope for more days like that. Can't promise them, but we'll do our best to keep doing as many of those as possible. Before we get to today's slate, a reminder, please hit that like button if you're on YouTube, subscribe or follow if you aren't yet. It's the only way to ensure that you don't miss any college basketball, MLB, or college football content that this channel provides. Share with a friend if you know there's in the game. Drop a comment on Twitter or YouTube. We love those and try to respond to as many as we can. 13 games today, at least scheduled. We might have a rainout or two, unfortunately. We're going to start us off with 1 p.m. Eastern, Red Sox at Yankees. A little bit of a rivalry here in case you didn't know that one. The Yankees are a minus 167 favorite with a total of 8. The model thinks the Yankees should only be minus 151. So I'm going to give you a C pick to start off on the Red Sox at plus 154. There's not a ton of value here at this number, given that I make the number 151 and we're getting 154. So only a lean, only a C pick. Cole is good. I'm not, I don't want to take anything away from that. But if you constantly back the top pitchers in teams with steep odds like the Brewers yesterday, you'll slowly drain your bankroll. It's not really a smart play to always do that. There's a small value here. I think you should take it with the Red Sox. Plus 154 is enticing for who the heck really knows what's going to happen, especially we don't know how long the starters are going to go with the shortened spring training. In the long run, picks like this one, picks like the Cubs yesterday, they'll pay off, even though you never know which ones, right? And that's why we always preach good bankroll management, because you never know which one of these underdogs is going to hit. But in the long run, it'll work out for us. Weather-wise, nothing really to speak on here, so I don't have a good any good advice for you on the total. That's not the case in this next game. 1:10 Eastern start. White Sox at the Tigers. The model makes the White Sox only a minus 115 favorite, and they're minus 132. So a little bit of a Tigers edge, but the model undervalued Giolito last year. And so I don't really like playing the Tigers here. I don't think it's bad. I just think that the under offers a ton more value. The under is at 8 right now, minus 115 on the odds there. And I'm going to give you an A pick on this one. Hopefully we get this game in. The weather is a little nasty, and it is perfect under weather and 2 pitchers that I like. Temperatures will be in the mid-40s. It'll be wet. It'll be humid. The wind is blowing in. I mean, this is hard under weather right here. So an A pick on this under in the afternoon. If we can get it in, if the rain doesn't mess with the starters, again, no starters are really going, 8 innings here off the bat. But as long as they can both go 5 or 6, I see it being a really low-scoring game here. This weather is just going to be nasty and not fun for hitters in that one. And kind of a similar story here in our next one, 2:20 Eastern first pitch, supposedly Brewers at Cubs. I'm not sure this game gets played. The weather's even worse here than it is over in Detroit. The model thinks the Brewers should be minus 146. They are minus 153. It doesn't really provide an edge on either side. If the game happens, I have a B pick on the under 7. That's at plus 104. So other places you probably can get a normal juiced under 7.5. Only a B play because this number is so low. Justin Steele for the Cubs did show signs of life at times last year. I obviously trust Woodruff. Both offenses are pretty rough. The wind is not blowing out today, unlike yesterday. Yesterday, I told you I like the under there, under 10 in the morning. That hit as it had 9 runs. The total did come down throughout the day as people kind of realized what we were talking about, that wasn't really, 10-run environment, especially with those pitchers. And so the wind not being out today, I think, makes it even more of a pitcher's environment. So again, if it gets played, I like the under here for a B pick, but I don't think that game happens. The weather's going to be in the high 30s. It's going to be humid. It's going to be wet, maybe some flurries in there, just nasty baseball weather We've got a lot of time to make up games. I don't see why they want to force that one in. The Athletics are playing the Phillies at 3:05 Eastern. The Phillies are a -168 favorite. The model thinks they should be -161. So no edge on the side. I don't really like anything on this game. I will give you a C pick. I'll give you a lean on the under 8. It's -118. I don't love the juice. That's why it's a lean. Two good pitchers early in the season. I'll stay under. The wind is blowing out, but it's slightly chilly. Nothing really to talk about here. It's just kind of a run-of-the-mill game with two solid pitchers. Nola going for the Phillies did have some pretty rough defensive luck last year. So if that turns around, hopefully they can keep more of his games under. But at -118, it's nothing to get really excited about. So just a lean on the under 8. I think that's probably the best look here, but there are a lot of other games that offer value on the slate. One of those is this one here. We're going to talk about 3:10 Eastern first pitch, Baltimore at Tampa. The model thinks Tampa should be a -186 favorite. They're only -179. So I'm going to lay the lumber here with Tampa. -179 is a B pick. We always talk about finding value, and I'm not just only going to take underdogs here. I'm going to take value where there's value, and I think that there's value laying these odds with Tampa. I do love John Means. He's Baltimore's probably only really good player. But McClanahan for Tampa isn't that far behind them. Tampa has the much better offense, much better bullpen. It's a big enough edge to play, and so I'm going to lay it. If you also like run lines that can help you with the odds, might not be a bad play either, but my official pick is a B pick on Tampa Bay -179. 4:10 Eastern, Mariners at Twins. The model thinks the Twins should be a -101 favorite. So I've got a C pick on the Mariners +103. It's a tiny edge, so a tiny play. It's not humid enough for me to like this under. I do trust Robbie Ray, obviously, and for the Twins, Ryan has been pretty solid at the end of last year. The total is 8. The wind's blowing hard out to right. If I had more humidity, I would think that would balance out, but there's just not enough humidity for me to like the total. If I had to, I would go under 8 again early on in the season. I think that's the way to look. Later on in the season, we'll go the other direction. Later on in the season, when it gets hot, we've got a good, the bats start heating up, right? Pitchers start fatiguing. We'll take some more overs, but early on, I think unders are solid. But I think I'd rather just take the +103 with the Mariners and back Robbie Ray, who's obviously a fantastic pitcher. Only a C pick. Don't really know what's going to happen, but I got plus odds, so it's not ever a bad idea. Dodgers and Rockies, same time slot there, 4 p.m. Eastern. The Dodgers are a whopping -198 favorite. The model thinks it should only be -178. So a slight Rockies edge there, and Freeland is usually solid in Coors. So if you wanted to take an underdog, the Rockies aren't a bad look. I just like the under more in this one. 11.5 is really high for this time of year, especially with not good hitting weather. So it's a B pick for me, under 11.5. And I know your first thought is, oh my gosh, this guy is crazy taking under in Coors. But you're playing teams and locations and numbers, right? And so I think this number is just too high. The 11.5s and 12s, I think, make a lot more sense at Coors when you have weaker pitchers. Freeland and Walker Buehler are two solid pitchers. It also makes sense in the summer when the weather gets warmer there. Obviously, it never gets to 100 degrees or rarely gets to any temperature like that in Denver at that altitude. But when it's upper 80s in Denver at that altitude, the humidor can't really help that much, and the ball just flies in that park. But the ball's not really going to fly here. It's slightly chilly. The weather's in the 60s. The wind's blowing in. And so there will be some runs for sure, but if there's any lag in the bats anywhere, any pitcher who gets on a run, 12 is going to seem really difficult because the weather just is not meant for a 12-run game here, especially with these pitchers. So I like under 11.5. It's -115. That's a B pick for me in Dodgers Rockies. A lot of afternoon games here today, last one of the bunch, 4:35 Eastern first pitch, Marlins at the Giants. Model thinks San Francisco should be a -139 favorite. At the time of this recording, they are -138. So if you want to play the Giants, that's not a bad look. Logan Webb has obviously made people a lot of money last year if you backed him. But it's not really a great edge. Look at the total. I'm going to make a C pick on the under 7.5. It's juiced way too heavy at -126. That's why it's only a C pick. I do not love those odds. Slightly chilly. The wind is blowing out, but what does that actually mean in San Francisco with the way those winds swirl? It's the one place where when you look at what the wind's doing, it doesn't actually mean a lot because you never know what's happening there. It's going to be very humid, as it often is on the Bay. Alcantara for Miami is a pitcher that I trust. So I'll go with the under. I don't love the number at 7.5. I don't love the odds, only a C pick. I also don't love the humidor effect. And that's something that we'll talk about throughout the course of the season. We've added the humidor to every major league ballpark this year, and the two parks that's going to affect the most from a science perspective appear to be San Francisco and San Diego, two parks that were just hard underplays. And I think they still are going to be underplays for the most part because of the other effects that those ballparks and those environments entail, the dimensions at certain aspects of those parks. However, because the humidor is going to increase distance on routine fly balls, on warning track fly balls, getting them over, I think you're going to see a few more runs in both of those parks. So those aren't going to be quite as heavy underplays as usual. So it's another reason here. I'm just going with a lean on the under. I want to get a little more data on both those parks to see how they react before I start being having any confidence on the under at those two parks. Shifting us into the night games, 7:05 Eastern, first pitch, Mets at Nationals. Mets are a -154 favorite, and that's what I'm taking, a B pick on them. The model thinks it should be -161. That's a solid edge. Max Scherzer is kind of good if you are unaware, and he's a lot better than Josiah Gray. We talked about how bad the Nats offense was yesterday, getting mostly shut out by Tyler McGill. Tonight could get really ugly for them against, a pitcher of Max Scherzer's caliber. I find it hard to see how the Nationals get more than a couple of runs in this one, so it should make for a fairly easy Mets victory. I think this number should be a lot higher, and I'm a little surprised it hasn't gotten higher, especially given the name recognition of Scherzer. Josiah Gray, obviously a former top prospect, still highly regarded, but I just don't think he's there yet. So this is definitely one that I expect as the day moves on for more Mets money to come in as the public has their hand in this one. I think it's the right side at this number. Obviously, if it gets too carried away, that's not the case. But for now, if you're laying anything south of 160, I like this pick a lot, and that's why it is a B pick for me. Total-wise, the wind is blowing out, but it's chilly, maybe a little bit wet, a little bit like last time. I'd have a delay, might have something affecting this game weather-wise. Hopefully not, but total-wise, I think it's a stay away just because there's no giant edge there that I see. 7:07 Eastern, first pitch, Rangers at the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are a -155 favorite, and I'm laying the odds again here with the Blue Jays at -155 for a B pick. The model thinks it should be Toronto -176. Taking a few favorites today. Again, in general, I would default to dogs, but where there's value, there's value. Today there's some value on some favorites, so I'm going to lay it here with the Blue Jays. It's nearly an A play here. It's a solid edge. The fact that I've got 21 cents of difference. I don't think that Gray was bad in Coors, so I'm not sure why he seems to be getting a leaving Coors boost. He was a solid pitcher. I still think he's a solid pitcher. I don't think he's going to magically be any better now that he's with Texas. But, I mean, he's no Jose Berrios. The Rangers are improved for sure. I would not deny that, but I don't think they're this much better. I still think the Blue Jays are a much better team. I think they've got the better starting pitcher. I think they're at home. -155 seems a little short for me, so I am taking the Blue Jays to win that one with a B pick. Reds at the Braves, 7:20 Eastern. Braves are a -177 favorite with a total of 9. I've got another B pick for you here. Taking another favorite, taking the Braves -177. Model thinks it should be Braves -202. This is one where the odds are getting up there, so you could definitely look run line. It's hard to make this an A pick unless you go run line, because that would imply that you're laying almost 6 units, which is just too much of the bankroll for me to want to put on one game. Anything can happen in one game. The Braves were supposed to win last night and they didn't. So always just keep that in mind, that you don't want to overextend yourself. So I'm keeping it as a B pick. It's still going to lay a lot of units here, but I like the Braves in this spot. Charlie Morton was fantastic the last half of last year. I don't see why he doesn't continue that. He seems to be fine after his leg injury, where he broke his leg and then continued to pitch. If you ever doubted the toughness of that guy, I don't think we have to do that again. Reiver Sanmartin for the Reds. I think he's going to be the cure to the Atlanta bat issues we saw last night. Not a very good pitcher. I cannot see Cincinnati scoring like that again. That was about a week's worth of runs, in my opinion, for that offense. I think Morton holds them down, and the Braves get an easy win. Total-wise, nothing to write home about. I think the Braves should score off of Sanmartin. I don't think the Reds score off Morton, so I really wouldn't know which way to look on this one. And weather-wise, it is cold, but the wind is blowing out to right. So that kind of offset. So I think your play is on the Braves. Again, my official pick, B pick, -177. If you wanted to go run line, again, you could do that as well. Not a bad look. And then 2 late games. I'm going to close this off with 2 A picks here. Astros at the Angels. The Astros got us to the window last night. Same first pitch time here tonight as last night, 9:38 Eastern. The model thinks the Astros should be a -111 favorite, so I'm going to take the Astros -105. I'm making it an A pick. I think the model is underselling Odorizzi. I am an Astros fan. We've talked about that before, but I have no problem fading the Astros whatsoever. I faded them last year in the playoffs against the Braves in the World Series a couple times. Last year was just a wonky year for Odorizzi, so this is not a fan type thing. I have no attachment to him. He has not done anything for the Astros to make me have any attachment to him. But he signed late. Did he have a spot in the rotation or not? I mean, it was just a question all year. This year, it's kind of like, hey, you're going to be in the rotation. He had the normal spring training, normal as everybody else did. I think this year he'll get back to average. I don't think he'll be as good as he was a few years ago, but I don't think he'll be as bad as he was last year. That's all they need tonight. If he's average tonight, the Astros are a great play facing Reed Detmers and the Angels' bad bullpen. Apparently, again, year after year, it seems to be a problem. They brought in Ryan Tepera, who's supposed to help them out. But last night, the Astros were all over him. I don't see Detmers really confusing the Astros' bats. And I don't see the Angels' bullpen confusing their bats. I think the Astros can score a lot of runs. There's a slight breeze out the center. It'll be a warm atmosphere. There's a reason why this total is 9.5. It's going to be 85 to start. So offense early on, weather-wise, no humidity. And again, humidity is going to bring the ball down. So, I mean, the ball is going to be flying there. I think the Astros score plenty off Detmers. I think they score plenty off the bullpen. I think Odorizzi's solid. I don't like going over this early in the season, especially with a total of 9.5. So I just think the Astros are the right side here. So A play on the Astros -105. And then one more A play for you here to close us out. 9:40 Eastern, first pitch, Padres at Diamondbacks. We got an easy A under last night. And I'm going to go back to the well with the same play. With regards to the side, the Padres are -145, and the model thinks -138. So really no edge there. But under 9, -105 offers a ton of value. So I'm going to go with an A play there. Again, these offenses are awful. I think Minaya and Yu Darvish are pretty comparable. I think Merrill Kelly and Madison Bumgarner are also too. I don't really see much changing. Last night, if you saw any of that game, Bumgarner labored hard in the third inning. Really struggled, got out of it only allowing the 1 run. Gets pulled in because it was so many pitches, first start of the year, short spring training, etc. So, I mean, you have a pitcher who only goes 3 innings and then has to turn it over to the bullpen. We have a walk-off grand slam, and that game still didn't get near an over. I don't understand how this total is so high. Obviously, it's in a dome, so there's no weather to speak of. And if they open the dome, then the weather should be pleasant and probably not affect things one way or the other. This total seems way too high. Like I said, these offenses are really bad. So I'm going to close this off here on the nightcap with an A pick on the under 9. So to recap my A picks, I got that under 9 in San Diego, Arizona. I've got the Astros with an A pick -105. And then I've got an afternoon A play under White Sox and Tigers under 8. Hopefully they get that game in and there are no delays. So 3 A plays for you, a few leans and a lot of likes. A lot of money to be made out there today. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Picks with the Professor. Reminder, check out the Google Sheet for model projections and results. You can find that link at the website, www.pickswiththeprofessor.com. If you haven't done so yet, click that subscribe button to ensure all the sports betting content we provide on this channel is dropped right into your feed. I will see you tomorrow, and until then, remember, you can eat your betting money, but please don't bet your eating money.